Hello friends. Imagine you need your program to print a greeting 100 times. You could sit down and type the same line over and over, 100 times in a row. And if you ever need to change that greeting, you have to update every single one. That is a nightmare. It makes your code bloated, fragile, and nearly impossible to read. There has to be a smarter way. And there is. It is called a loop. In this video, we are going to learn exactly what loops are, how they work, and how they let you repeat code cleanly without writing it more than once. Let's start by understanding what a loop actually is. Alright, so what exactly is a loop? A loop is a block of code that runs repeatedly as long as a certain condition stays true. Think of it like a checklist you keep revisiting. Before each pass, the program asks one question. Is this condition still true? If yes, it runs the code block again. If no, it stops and moves on. Each time the loop runs that code block, we call it one iteration. So if a loop runs 5 times, that is 5 iterations. The condition is the gatekeeper. It decides whether another iteration happens, or whether the loop ends. Every loop, no matter how complex, is built on this same idea. Check a condition, run the block, repeat. Now let's look at the first and most common type of loop you will write. Now look at this. The for loop is built for situations where you know exactly how many iterations you need. It has 3 parts packed into one line: initialize, condition, and update. First, you initialize a variable. Here we set I to 1. That runs once, at the very start. Then comes the condition, I less than or equal to 5. Before every iteration, the loop checks this. If it is true, the code block runs. After the block finishes, the update fires, I increment, which adds 1 to I. Then the condition is checked again. So I goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The block runs 5 times, printing each value. When I reaches 6, the condition is false, and the loop exits. Clean, predictable, and easy to read at a glance. Next, let's meet a loop that works a little differently. Here's the interesting part. The while loop only has one thing in its header: a condition. There is no built-in initializer or update step. It simply says, keep running as long as this condition is true. That makes it perfect when you do not know ahead of time how many iterations you will need. Think of asking a user for input. You keep asking until they type quit. You have no idea how many tries that will take. It could be 1, it could be 10. A for loop would be awkward here. The while loop fits naturally. The key is that something inside the loop must eventually make the condition false. In our example, the user typing quit changes the input, which ends the loop. Speaking of that, what happens if nothing ever changes the condition? Let's look at that now. Alright, here is a mistake almost every beginner makes at least once. Take a while loop checking whether I is less than or equal to 5, but inside the block, you only print I and never change it. I stays 1 forever. The condition is always true, so the loop never stops. Your program freezes. That is an infinite loop. The fix is always the same. Make sure something inside the loop moves you closer to the condition becoming false. In this case, add I increment inside the block. Now I grows each iteration. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when it hits 6, the condition is false, and the loop exits cleanly. Before you run any loop, ask yourself, will this condition eventually become false? If you cannot answer yes, you have a problem to fix first. So let's bring it all together. We started with the problem. Repeating the same code by hand is painful and brittle. A loop solves that by running a block of code repeatedly, as long as a condition is true. Each repetition is one iteration. The for loop is your go-to. When you know the count up front, it handles initialize, condition, and update in one clean header. The while loop shines when you do not know how many iterations you need. Just give it a condition. And whichever loop you use, always make sure the condition can eventually become false, or you will end up stuck in an infinite loop. Once you start spotting repetition in your code, reaching for a loop will feel like second nature. The next time you catch yourself copying and pasting the same lines, stop and write a loop instead. Thanks for watching, and we will see you in the next one.